Bruce Jenner was featured on the cover of Vanity Fair, not as Bruce Jenner, but as Caitlyn Jenner. That is her new identity, and that is how she would like to be referred to. And I gotta be honest, when I first saw the cover, she was unrecognizable to me. She looks phenomenal. And apparently there will be a 22-page cover story on Caitlyn in the latest issue of Vanity Fair. Now, I should note that the new issue will not be on in the stands until June 6th, but nonetheless, we have some sense of what Caitlyn shared with the writer, in this case, Buzz Bissinger, who is obviously a very well-known writer for Vanity Fair and other publications. Now, I want to read some of the quotes from Caitlyn in the piece. Of course, we don't have the full piece for you yet, but I thought that it was a very telling interview that she did and a very courageous interview. So let me give you a little piece of it. She says, "That was a good day, but the last couple days were better," referring to the interview that she had with Diane Sawyer.
And she also meant it in reference to when she won the gold in the Olympics.
Right.
And she said, look, that was one day, but this is a liberation that's lasting longer.
I know.
Really powerful.
Okay, I'm going to share how this whole story is a humbling experience for me, but let me give you the rest of the quote. "This shoot was about my life and who I am as a person. It's not about the fanfare. It's not about the people cheering in the stadium. It's not about going down the street and everybody giving you, that a boy, Bruce, pat on the back. Okay, this is about your life." Caitlyn also says, "If I was lying on my deathbed and I had kept this secret and never ever did anything about it, I would be lying there saying, you just blew your entire life. You never dealt with yourself, and I don't want that to happen."
Wow, yeah. So I think that I shared a lot of the same sentiments that you did, but we'll find out. First, when I saw the picture, I didn't realize that it was the person who used to be Bruce Jenner. And we were doing the story, I'm reading the story, and then it dawned on me like minutes later, I was like, oh, right, I get it. And when I was looking at the picture from a distance and it was black and white, I thought it was Cindy Crawford. No offense meant to anybody, right? But and don't get me wrong, guys. Just because he's gone through this transformation and is now Caitlyn and is now a she, right? Doesn't mean they don't Photoshop.
I know, of course there's Photoshopping, but even if there is Photoshopping, she still looks phenomenal.
Yeah, and she is in some ways loosely associated with the Kardashian clan, so trust me that there's marketing and Photoshopping going on.
Right. Another thing that I wanted to point out is that she has undergone a number of surgeries. Apparently, she had a panic attack because some of the facial surgeries that she needed to have lasted 10 hours when they were supposed to last 5 hours. So there was a little panic there. And look, not that I think it's important, but of course people always wonder and they question about it. She has not had reassignment surgery. Okay, so
for the genitals.
For the genitals, exactly.
And so no, look, there's nothing wrong with being curious about that. I'm curious about all of it, right? So she did get breasts put in, which I didn't know she was going to do. And she did the facial surgery back in March. One of the reasons she was flipped out is because it was supposed to last 5 hours, it lasted 10 hours.
Right.
She was really worried about that. You're supposed to call her she going forward, okay? And but before that, she was calling herself Bruce, and she was calling herself he. When asked about it, he said, look, or she now said, I get confused about it. She said somebody came over the other day, and she said, hey, it's Bruce. She's like, wait, I'm not Bruce. I'm not a he, I'm a she. So it's okay. She's like letting everybody know it's okay to screw that up every once in a while.
Yeah.
And I like that she said that to let people off the hook, because everybody's always on pins and needles.
Everyone's on pins and needles, and I'm glad that she clarified that people make mistakes. As long as you're genuine in trying to get it right, that's all that really matters. There's a difference between those who are trying and those who just are defiant about it. They're refusing to respect the fact that Caitlyn is a woman. She identifies as a woman, and so you should respect that. And I think the people who don't want to respect that are those who are either ignorant about gender identity issues or they're just scared of something that they deem unusual.
So this is part of what blew my mind, where she told the story of after she'd won in the Olympics, she did a press conference where underneath her outfit, she had a bra and pantyhose on. So it's not like she just got this idea a couple of days ago or a couple of years ago and was like, whoa, won't this be a cool publicity stunt? No. Or or that it didn't even occur to her outside of the publicity angle of it later in life. No, she'd known all along. She just, given the context of our society, had trouble mustering up the courage to go in the direction she always knew was right.
Exactly. So this entire situation, this story, has been an eye-opener for me, not just when it comes to, the transgender community and what they have to go through, but also the fact that we take such huge components of our lives for granted. So I'm who I am on a daily basis. I say what I want on the show. I do what I want. My parents know who I am. I don't have to hide about any part of my personality or what my character is. Can you imagine not being able to be honest with society as a whole about who you are and what gender you identify with?
Not only society as a whole, but he's been married 3 times. He's got a lot of kids. He has 4 kids from the first marriage, obviously 2 kids with Kris Jenner. And look, other parts of the story that were interesting was the kids saying, especially the first 4 kids, he wasn't a very good dad oftentimes, and he was missing for long periods. And she now admits that. And one of the kids said that, I hope Caitlyn is a better dad than Bruce was.
Right.
Wow. I mean, we live in a trippy world now. It's okay to be tripped out by it. We're all tripped out by it. But you got to adjust and wrap that around your head. Would it have been better if he stayed as Bruce and continued the string of lies that he says he's been telling his whole life? Those lies start to live inside you. Right?
Yeah.
And they start to affect things outside of your gender.
Yes.
They start to, unfortunately, you live with them long enough, they start to define you. And to be free of that has got to be enormously liberating and transformative in a different way.
You can't make other people happy unless you're happy yourself. And I'm not giving her a pass for not being a good parent to the older kids. But the reality is when you have these internal struggles and you're having a difficult time dealing with it, how are you going to focus on other components of life, other elements of life? I mean, I can't imagine having to hide who I am and then at the same time be a great employee, a great parent, a great wife, whatever it is. It's difficult.
So now the part of the story I'm conflicted by is it is in some ways the Kardashian crew, right? So in some ways, I would have wanted Bruce Jenner to do the interview that he did on Diane Sawyer, become Caitlyn Jenner, and be done with it, right? Live out her life without getting back into the circus. And it's one thing to do the Vanity Fair story. One, we learned from it, as we just discussed, so I think that's really valuable, and that's why I like that part of it. And it's important to do the cover story and the picture. And she is saying that she's getting letters from all over the world thanking her because that's helping others to gain their courage, and it's helping others learn about transgender people. So all that is super positive. The downside is that now she's got a knee show. Oh boy, right? And here we go. We're right back in the soup.
Okay,
right?
So I had the same initial reaction as you, but I had my doubts prior to the Diane Sawyer interview. I thought that this was going to be bungled in 58 different ways just because that's how the media handles situations like this. And so the docuseries isn't part of Keeping Up with the Kardashians. I'm willing to keep an open mind and see how it plays out. There's a huge possibility that it'll be a very effective, informative docuseries. I kind of don't love the fact that it's on E, but who knows? Maybe they'll do a really good job in bringing this kind of information and awareness to the public. So I'm going to hold my judgment until I see an episode of it.
But it is a reality show, and so don't think it's going to be super highbrow either. There's like all this already hints of drama that happens within the show. The older kids of Caitlyn Jenner, the original 4, are not participating, even though they get paid good money to participate.
Right.
They're like, we don't want any piece of that, which I really respect them for. And he says, look, I think it's going to help people. Plus, I do have a house with a mortgage, in which I thought, well, that's honest. I like that. At the same time, right?
We'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, and okay, Anna's right. You got to have open mind. I'm certainly not going to watch it. I don't watch any of those reality shows. But if the feedback is good, hey, you know what? They did a respectful job with it. And it's okay to be entertaining. God bless. Of course, we're totally in favor of entertainment as long as you don't cheapen things and make a clown show out of it, right? Because it's not because this issue's too important to make a clown show out of it. You know,
Absolutely.
So that's what we're scared of. But so far, I agree with you. She's played it all right. This has all been a learning experience for the whole country, and people who weren't used to it, who maybe could have dismissed other people that are in the news. Bradley Manning becomes Chelsea Manning. A lot of people might have already had preconceived notions about Bradley Manning, easier to dismiss maybe, although that's also very important as the country gets used to people in the news going through this process. When it's Bruce Jenner, maybe a lot of people in different political affiliations, he is a Republican, or he was a Republican, presumably she's a Republican, and he was an Olympic athlete, then they see him going through it, maybe it begins to change some minds. Let's hope they keep handling it in the way that they have
Right.
and don't go off the rails.